Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of this low carb kickstart event. It's been great getting your questions. I've had some good feedback from people who are doing the meal plan, and that's awesome. One person said, Cheryl, I just don't have time to cook this much. And like I said to her, look, you don't have to follow it perfectly by any means. Normally, the kind of plans that I put together would not include quite so many recipes in one week. But I think my idea was to just really highlight some different options so that you can see the wide range of things that are available. Because it's really interesting. The other comment that I'll often hear from people, it's a delicate balance. Some of us love food really simple. Other times people want recipes, and sometimes people will come back and see me after a week and say, I'm bored, what else can I eat? Other people like me at the moment are very happy eating kind of the same thing a lot of the time. So no matter where you sit on that spectrum, um, I think it's good to know that you can keep this as simple as you want it to be. Or if you're having a special meal and you want to wow everyone, well, you've got a range of beautiful options to choose from as well. Oh, hi, Kelly, and I'm just saying, hi, you just signed up today. Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And you've got access to the workbooks and things from other days. So welcome. And if you've got any questions, please just let me know. Thank you so much for joining. It's awesome. I love doing things like this and sharing hopefully some new ideas and getting people motivated, or more, not really motivated, that's not the right word, but just more inspired, I suppose, to take action and get things going in the right direction again. Because now that the weather's getting a bit warmer, it's like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's finish the year strong, making some simple and yummy changes to get things going in the right direction. That's certainly the goal anyway. So let me go through what I'm going to talk about today. And I've had a really good question emailed through about weight loss in general, about calories. So I want to address that first because it's something that I get asked a lot about. And the way that I think about this topic might be different from how you've heard. So I'd love to share my perspective on, do I need to be in a calorie deficit? That is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I'm going to talk about that first. So that's going to be about weight loss. And then I'm going to talk about reading labels, whether we go from serving size and do we look at carbs, do we look at sugar, what should we be looking at? Going to look at protein bars versus protein shakes, which is very good on topic when we think about snacking. Someone said, I'm fine in the morning, but things turn to shit in the afternoon. What can I do about it? So we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to talk about dark chocolate, which is one of my favorite things. I've got a few snack options to show you as well. Talk about protein powder as well. Question there, what's the best protein powder if you're lactose intolerant? So I'll talk about that. And I'll start also by just talking about snacking in general. I did a quick video on the page this morning. Snacking is one of these topics that when your goal is weight loss, all that matters is what you're doing is working. I've got some clients who would have easily 2 or 3 snacks a day. They're still losing weight. Perfect. I've got other people who have had to really cut out the snacks and continue to focus on cutting out the snacks in order to see results. So as everything in weight loss, it depends on you, what suits you, what you're doing, and what your result is. In general, what I would say is that for people who are starting on low carb, like if this is your first time doing low carb, or maybe you have been eating a lot of carbs or eating a lot of snacks and now you're really hitting that reset button, I would say that if you have been eating snacks, it's so much easier to transition to this new way and keep those snacks in there. It's so much easier than if you've been eating 5 or 6 times a day and then you're going to say, right, I'm flicking the switch, I'm doing the low carb kickstart, that's it, 3 meals a day, nothing in between, let's go. Some people can flick that switch, but I find most people, it's a lot easier if you're like, okay, well, I've been eating 5 times a day, I'll just go down to 4 times a day and I'll make that a low carb snack. It's a much easier transition. So if you are feeling hungry, I know a couple of people commented on our Facebook group yesterday, I'm feeling hungry, which is totally fine. Have a snack. There is nothing wrong with doing that. You've got to listen to your body. And the key thing, which is what I talk a bit more about tomorrow, is being able to distinguish between real hunger and head hunger. And a good way to tune into that is tuning into your stomach. Is your stomach rumbling? Are you having that maybe slight not even lightheaded, but just you're feeling like you need to eat. I think we all know what that really feels like. And if you're feeling that, then please do have a snack. Don't hold out or think, oh no, I can't have a snack because I'm on this 5-day low carb kickstart. Please don't, like, have a snack. I think it's really important. If you are further down the track, maybe you've already lost a chunk of weight and you're now on the last 3 to 4 kilos and the scales aren't budging and you're eating snacks, that would probably be one of the first things I'd suggest that you cut out. Unless there was a really important reason, like you're doing a lot of exercise, in which case I'd say to cut that out, but that's another topic. Or, there's for some reason you need to have that snack. Ideally, when you can eat a good meal and then go a good amount of time between meals, that's the best. And I recommend 4 hours between eating, longer if you can. The reason for that is that when we eat a meal, it's probably going to take about 2 hours for your body to process that. Your insulin will rise while your body's dealing with that sugar, and then it will digest the meal, and then your insulin drops. That's what we want. Then you're in this lovely state of low insulin. Now, this is where you might start burning a bit of fat, because your there's no insulin there. So if you're in that right fat burning zone, this is an opportunity to burn fat. However, if you then go and have a snack, what it's going to do is turn all of that off. So snacking between meals, in theory, what that's going to do is limit any opportunity you may have to burn fat between meals. This is why, in general, I don't encourage snacking unless you're starting out or you really need that snack, because it can impact on that nice fat burning opportunity between meals. But there's another reason too, when it comes to gut health, irritable bowel syndrome or SIBO. So if you're having any issues with bloating or irregularity, that kind of thing, your body needs time between meals to digest. And apparently when your insulin drops and you've gone that good few hours after eating, then your body kicks into cleanup mode. And there's a thing called a migrating motor complex that comes out. It's like a little sweeper, and it sweeps your intestines out and does the cleanup job and gets everything ready for that next meal. Your body needs time to do all of this. And if we then put some food in our mouth after 3 hours, what happens is that all turns off. And one of the thoughts of what creates SIBO, and this, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, is that your body's not having the time to clean up the shop because we're constantly eating. And I think this is another reason why, when we look at gut health, that we've got to be careful with snacking, because we need to give our body time to digest. So, these are all the layers that we're going to be putting in, and certainly that I put in when I decide whether a snack is a good option for someone. Gut health, where they're at on their journey. But what I know for sure, which is why I wanted to make a whole day about snacking, is that having a good snack available can be an absolute game changer when you're on a low carb journey. Because if you get caught out, it's not like we live in a world, although it's a lot better, where we can just grab something quickly. I mean, actually, these days the petrol stations are pretty brilliant, but you don't want to go getting caught out without anything to eat, because then it's very easy to fall face first into the food. So having that protein bar in your handbag, having access to some nuts, something like that, is really good to keep you on track. Okay, so let's go through some of these questions. And the first one was about the calorie deficit. Now, this is a specific weight loss question, of course, but it's really important, because one of the constant things I hear out there in social media with all the experts, and there's no shortage of experts out there, but let me share my opinion. And remember, I've been coaching for 13 years, so I've seen a lot of women in this room, a lot of women. And many people who come to see me are already trying to lose weight and it's not working, and they're getting really annoyed, which is why they've come to see me. If I looked at what most of them are doing, it's a constant calorie deficit. And this is a big change of what I find happens in weight loss when we're in our 20s versus our 30s and beyond. When you're younger, and I'm speaking general here, but in general, your body tends to react better to stress in terms of weight loss. So when we, just cut out a few snacks or watch our portions, that worked. I lost 1 kilo in a week. Yay. Or I've done a couple of workouts and I've worked off all of that I gained in the weekend. That's hopefully the journey in the 20s where, it's not that hard to lose weight. It can be, but It's a lot easier than when you hit your late 30s and 40s, right? And I find what happens in our 30s and 40s is that we get told this advice, just eat less, exercise more. So people will go into a calorie deficit and they're tracking everything, but it doesn't work because your body is not getting enough food, and it's the constantness of it. So if you drop your calories and you constantly eat at this lower calorie range, your body gets very pissed off at that. And it's like your inner cave woman starts to think, shit, there's a food shortage out there. I'm stressed. It increases stress. And when your stress goes up, your cortisol goes up, stress hormone, that tends to turn fat burning off. Because if your body's in a stress state, it wants to hold on to fat. It wants to hold on to its survival stores, you know? It needs this to stay alive. So I would argue that for many people, a constant calorie deficit is not a good thing in the long term. It doesn't work. It might work in the short term, but then it stops working. And what do? Eat less? So just to tell you what I do instead, we do in this room, I call it really caloric variability. And that works really, really well. So when I'm with someone whose scales are stuck, instead of doing this constant thing of, let's just say 1200 calories, which might be too low anyway, and they're always doing 1200 calories. Instead, what I do is mix it up. So they might do a day of 1600 calories. Yay. Then they might do 800. Then they might do 1100. Then they might do 16, 8, 11. That's done actually very easily. You can do it just by eating 3 meals a day and then going down to 1 meal. Like, you don't have to track or count. It's pretty simple. I mean, I work that out anyway, but that works really well. So if you're experimenting with calories and you're in a calorie deficit and you're not sure why it's not working, I really encourage you to try that instead. Mix it up. Start doing different things. Give your body a shock, but then give your body a lovely day of eating so your body knows that food is plentiful. That stimulates your metabolism too. And that kind of metabolic variability is really, really powerful. And that's what I do in my 4-week program. Every week, the food plan just changes slightly so that it gives your body that bit of a shock. You're not constantly doing the same thing. Do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So that is my thoughts on a calorie deficit. You can do it in the short term, but in the long term, you need a bit more than that to keep those scales going. Now, Rhonda asked a lovely question. Hi, Rhonda. Rhonda and I went to school together, by the way, everyone. We're both girls from Tokoroa. So it's lovely to see you here, Rhonda. And, God, I've known you since what? We're 12 years old, just about. Good old days, eh? Now, she was talking about labels and asking a question, you know, how much per serving should we be looking for? Like, she sort of said that the old advice, or some advice you might have seen, was that in 100 grams, you want the food to be 10 grams or less, which is fine. That is one way to look at it. But as I mentioned to her in my comment, I don't go by servings. I mean, I don't go by per 100 grams. I always look at serving size, because for me, what really matters is what size serving am I going to have on my plate and how many carbs are going to be on my plate. That's always the way that I've worked it out. And there are some foods that it makes sense to do that. One of the things that I thought of immediately was, there was a documentary done a few years ago by, I think it was Nigel Latta, all about sugar. And he was talking about the hidden sugars in food. And his big example of something that was so bad was Marmite. I've got a picture of Marmite next to me. And he was like, oh my goodness, Marmite has, how much is it per 100 grams? 17 grams of sugar. Oh my God. Marmite is a hidden source of sugar, and we're giving it to our kids, and was going on and on about it. And I was sitting there thinking, what a blimmin' ridiculous thing to highlight. Because number one, who the hell's going to eat 100 grams of Marmite? That's like a third of a tub. You know, like, no one is eating that much Marmite. We're all putting a little bit of Marmite. The Marmite's not the problem, Nigel. It's the toast. It's those 2 bits of white toast with butter. The butter's actually not the problem, but butter on toast is a problem. So it's the bread that's giving you the massive insulin spike, not that little bit of Marmite on the top. Oh my God. I was just like, you know what, dude? I've talked to a lot of people who have sugar addiction. I've had to overcome sugar addiction, right? Oh, thanks, Kelly. It is true, isn't it? I've known a lot of people who have got problems with weight and sugar, and you know what? Not one of them is overeating Marmite. Marmite is not our problem. Like, this is where I think, you know, and again, I am criticizing him on that point, but that's a good example of how it's not just about those numbers in the food, it's looking at how much of it you are eating and how often you're eating it. Another good example, I meant to grab it from my fridge. I quite like the Watties 50% reduced sugar tomato sauce. Now, per 100 grams, I think that's got about, or 100 mils rather, that's got about 8 or 9 grams of sugar, or 10. So that's getting up there a little bit, but I only have a little bit. I'm certainly not eating 100 mils. And I think I want to encourage you, if there are things that you enjoy, for me, I do like a little bit of tomato sauce. I don't put much on, but sometimes on eggs, I like a little bit. If it's giving me pleasure, I'm absolutely fine to take those 2 or 3 grams of sugar. It's like, it's worth it to me. Burger sauce is another example, the Watties burger sauce. I really love that. That's got about 3 grams of sugar for a tablespoon. So that would have quite a lot for 100 mils. But if I'm just putting a tablespoon on and it makes my food taste like Big Macs on eggs, I'm in. 3 grams of sugar, make my egg taste like a Big Mac. Hello, yes please, because I want pleasure. So I look at the serving size and I just make sure that on my plate, roughly it's 15 grams of carbs or less. And I think that's quite an easy way to do it. Again, we don't have to micromanage that, but I've just always found that works really well. The other thing I wanted to mention about labels is when you've got a label that looks at carbs and sugar, I actually never look at sugar. I only look at carbs because the sugar levels are included in your carb reading. So if something's got 6 grams of sugar and 10 grams of carb, that 10 grams of carb includes that sugar anyway. So carbs is your total number, and carbs are going to turn to sugar in your blood. A good example of this might be a normal wrap that's 35 grams of carb. Now, if you were doing a low sugar, I'm going to eat low sugar. So I look at a wrap. Oh, it's got 2 grams of sugar. Oh, this is a good option. It's got 30 grams of carb, but I'm not looking at carbs. I'm just looking at sugar. So I'm going to eat this wrap. Well, that carb is going to turn to sugar in your blood so fast. So, it's virtually the same thing. Not exactly the same thing, because of course fiber does slow down the rate at which that will turn to sugar, but it's still going to turn to sugar. And if you're trying to lose weight, it's not going to help you. So I always just look at total carbs. I look at the protein and keep it really, really simple by doing that. Now, what's better, a protein bar or a protein shake? I would say definitely the protein shake is a better option as a snack because it's got less ingredients. It's more closer to real food. Those protein bars do have a lot of chemicals in them. And the more chemicals you've got, the less likely your body is probably going to recognize it as food. It can also possibly trigger gut issues. You've got to be careful with the sugar alcohols. They're called maltitol or sorbitol, glycerol. If you have irritable bowel syndrome and get bloated, some of these bars, Atkins bars actually, do they still have maltitol? Yes, they do. So the Atkins bars are probably not the best option if you have IBS and you want a snack, because they do have maltitol in them. It can cause gut upset. But yeah, if your bars have got a lot of ingredients, maybe it's not ideal. But where a bar is handy is it's portable. I always keep a protein bar in my handbag. That's my emergency option. So if I get stuck out, if I'm, standing in a queue somewhere or at the Wop Wops and there's nothing in the cafe and everyone else is eating and I want something, that's when I'll crack out my protein bar, and that's when I think they're really useful. So certainly I wouldn't recommend them for everyday eating. I would say a shake is much better because it's more protein, less ingredients, and overall I just think the closer we can keep our food to real food, the better. Now, I'm fine in the morning, but things tend to crap in the afternoons. Why does this happen and what can I do about it? It happens because you're tired. Basically, that's why your food probably turns to crap in the afternoon, and most of us do too. And when are we usually grabbing the snacks? In the afternoon. I look at a lot of food diaries every day, and I don't even usually look at the food diary before lunchtime because most people are pretty onto it before lunch. It's what happens from about 3 o'clock onwards. And I used to laugh and think it's like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like 3 o'clock happens and some mist goes over the waters and we all turn into just a little bit crazy. And all of a sudden we want to eat and we're grabbing at the kids' food and all of this thing. So you've got to pull back. Usually, if your afternoons are a struggle, it's not necessarily because you're hungry, it's because you are tired. And that is sometimes not the easiest thing to change, especially if your kids are young. But always keep working on your sleep, is always the best advice I can give you. Sleep is very, very important. And if you've had a bad night's sleep, just be ready for the fact that the next day you will need a snack. So have that snack ready to go so that you can just stay on track and not feel stressed about it, because sleep is everything. And when your brain is tired, and this is why lack of sleep is such a problem. When your brain's tired and it wants energy, it's going to scream at you to eat. And it wants something sweet because that's a fast form of energy. So that would be my advice. Just really look at your sleep and have good snacks ready to go, like the snacks in our workbook today, so that you can get through the afternoon. Is dark chocolate a good snack? Yes. It's great, much better than normal chocolate. I love Lind dark chocolate, so I recommend 78% or higher, because this has how much? 2 squares has 4.8 grams of carb. That's okay. I'm good with that. And it's yummy. Now, this has not got protein. So this is where we're looking at. As I said this morning, I had that nice yogurt, which was really high in protein. That was a strategic snack because I was hungry. If it might just be the odd little something after dinner, or, you're just having that occasional afternoon thing and you just want that little something, a square of dark chocolate would be fine. It's low in carbs, and it does the job. So I find a lot of my clients eat dark chocolate and they're getting great results. So not a problem at all. Now, the last question I was asked was, what is a good protein powder if I'm lactose intolerant? And yeah, I think the great thing about protein powder now is there are lots of different options available. NZ Protein, which is the company that I get my protein from, they have hemp protein, egg white protein. I think there's a rice protein. Of course, there's soy protein. There is heaps of options. And I know Dee down at Keto by Dee Cafe, she just ordered in a beef protein, which was chocolate flavored. And I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. Like, how can they get beef protein and make it taste like chocolate? She said it's delicious. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to go down and try it. So if you're doing carnivore, or you really want to experiment with just keeping your animal products as your priority, I would definitely give that a try, because she's raving about it. She said it's delicious. So we are so lucky now. There are just so many options. Pea protein, of course, that was always the most popular non-whey option. There are many, many options now for protein powders. So I think there's a wide range, and just give it a try. Places like NZ Protein, they have samples as well. Keto by Dee sells some samples. So you can order a couple of samples and just see what works best for you. It is really worth trying, because I think having a good protein powder is very, very useful. Another one of my favorite snacks, I think I put it in the handout, is just getting protein powder, like I showed this morning, just getting protein powder and just mixing it into yogurt, or just getting protein powder, mixing it into a little bit of almond milk and having a mini shake. If I'm a bit tired in the afternoon, I'll get chocolate protein powder with a bit of almond or coconut milk, and then I add a shot of coffee in there and make like an iced mocha. And that's really yum. It's sort of giving you the chocolate and the caffeine, all those good things in one place. So yeah, I think having a protein powder can be really helpful if you've got a busy life and you want to have a good snack easily. I'm just having a look. Hi, Kelly. What's the maximum daily carbs I recommend? Well, in low carb, I recommend no more than 50 grams per day. And that would be total carbs. Although in saying that, I don't think you really need to track the carbs in vegetables. I know some people do say to do that, but honestly, vegetables, yes, they do have carbs, but they're full of fiber. They're not sweet, so they're not going to be potentially spiking your insulin through your taste buds. I just think, again, coming back to what I said about Marmite, probably nobody's weight loss problem is because they're eating too many vegetables, certainly not green leafy veg. So I don't really recommend you have to count that. The only time I would get someone tracking that is if they were tracking and it wasn't working and they were eating lots of vegetables, and I would say, maybe cut that back a little bit and see if it helps. So yeah, sticking to 50 grams or less is usually a really good level to get people losing weight. And of course, you can go a lot lower than that. Ketogenic eating is 20 grams, but that's restricting quite a bit. I like to do that in the short term. So I put people, I think low carb is a really, really fantastic foundation plan. And then we can always introduce lower carb days when you want to shake it up. If your scales are plateauing, bring in a nice low day and see how that works, because that's normally really helpful and effective at getting the scales dropping. But 50 grams is so doable. We've got to be able to eat this way forever. So you've got to have that level where you can have the odd wrap or some crackers and, make this easy, make it pleasurable, do it. Then you'll do it every day without feeling like you're on a very restrictive diet, like you want to just dive off the wagon the minute you're going through a hard day. We've got to stay on the wagon. That's the key. You've got to stay on the wagon, because if you stay on the wagon, you will get your result. If you fall off the wagon, the journey is a lot more bumpy. Awesome. Let me finish off just by showing you, I've got a few examples here in my office of some popular snacks, and we'll be talking a lot more about this tomorrow too, in my favorite topic, which is emotional eating. Love that topic. And these are some yummy things that are really helpful. The new products, this is great. The no shoe bars, they're so yummy. I love this cherry flavored one. They don't have maltitol. No, they do have a little bit of glycerol, but look, that's quite a nice little bar. Of course, I showed the Atkins bars. Now, in general, I would say for most people they're okay, but they do have maltitol. So while on the back of the Atkins bar it says, only 2.7 grams of carb, I would up that a little bit, because you've got to really count maltitol, that it does spike insulin. That's what studies have shown. So I always up it a little bit. But in saying that, I do have lots of clients who eat Atkins bars and they're getting great results. So, once again, if the old Atkins bar keeps you on track and on the wagon, then not a problem. Of course, and this is going to come into tomorrow's topic as well, naturally sugar-free chocolate. Yum, that tastes like the real thing. And as I've mentioned in the handout today, and I saw that Sharon from Keto Store did a post on our page, which is awesome. Thanks, Sharon. I am in love with this soup. This Keto Store soup would be my favorite product of the year, I have to say, along with the Jerry's coconut and almond bread that came out earlier in the year. This soup, the flavor of this soup is absolutely phenomenal. There's like 8 flavors and they are all yummy. I've got chicken, I've got tomato, the vegetable soup is amazing, mushroom is so good. And this has been such a winner this winter. I love it, especially recommending to clients who are wanting to keep their calories low and do a low calorie day. It's like a bit of soup can keep you going as a meal replacement. Super low in carbs, really good. The sodium's low as well. So this is like a fantastic product. We are so, so lucky to have things like this available. I know lots of people overseas would just be so jealous of the options that we have thanks to you, Keto Store. So amazing. So this is definitely a brilliant option if you enjoy a soup, and that just helps, keep you going between meals. So those are just a couple of the snacks that are in my office. But look, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining in. And thank you, Kelly, for being here. I really appreciate that. And look, good luck. I hope today's going well. Really looking forward to continuing on tomorrow with emotional eating. That is the topic that I think is going to really help many of you. I know a few people have commented here about the motivation side of this journey and just really wanting to achieve a result. Mindset is everything. Oh, you're welcome, Kelly. Thank you for being here. Mindset, ladies, is everything. We can talk about food till we're blue in the face, but probably you've all in the past tried ways of eating that work. The problem isn't necessarily how do I lose weight, it's how do I keep that weight off? And the way we keep the weight off is by A, having a way of eating we enjoy, so we keep doing it, but B, it's how we keep going in those challenging times where life's shit's hit the fan and we want to hit the food. So having strategies to help with your mind is incredibly powerful, and that's what I'm going to share with you tomorrow. And that's where I think it's super powerful, because if you can combine a really good way of eating with some new ways of dealing with life, you are going to be winning, because you're going to have a yummy food that you're going to want to keep doing, and you're going to have your mind in place so that you actually keep focusing on the goal, which is really exciting. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you tomorrow, and all the best. Have a great day.